Hello, in this video of my series on the feeling of guilt and the energy field of guilt, we will explore how techniques such as meditation and mindfulness can be effective in dealing with the sense of guilt. Additionally, we will examine how guilt creates obstacles in reaching our authentic selves. Guilt, like all other emotions, is an energy field. First and foremost, it is beneficial to move away from defining guilt solely as an emotion. This way, we can have the opportunity to see the true nature of guilt. Therefore, practicing meditation on guilt and applying techniques like mindfulness when dealing with the feeling of guilt can be quite helpful. One of the nature and purposes of meditation is the union of the object of meditation with the subject. Initially, we mentioned the importance of understanding that guilt is not just an emotion. This is because when we define guilt solely as an emotion, it is highly likely that we also define it as an undesirable emotion. Meditation delves into the depths of the nature of the object upon which meditation is practiced. This process is non-conceptual. While there are practices applied conceptually in the mind, the foundation of meditation is not based on the act of thinking. When we define guilt as an emotion, or more precisely, when we define guilt in any way, we separate it from its true nature. This separation hinders the effectiveness of meditation when dealing with the feeling of guilt. Because once we define it, it becomes an abstract thought, and our work on guilt, in reality, leads us to play with its shadow rather than finding a solution to the discomfort we express through the definition of guilt. This situation is similar to trying to solve a real-life problem by playing a computer game that simulates real life. If you want to make money in real life, you must do it in real life, not by trying to earn money for your character in a computer game. In reality, when we define something, that's what we are doing. Therefore, for meditation to be effective in dealing with the feeling of guilt, you should not define your problem related to guilt. Because what you actually want to solve is the discomfort you express as guilt. In meditation, it is necessary to do this without defining it in any way and turning it into a conceptual object. You can find numerous resources today on how meditation can be done. Therefore, I don't want to waste time here explaining how meditation can be done. Just stating the following will be sufficient. When you realize that you feel guilty and decide to meditate for it, you can follow this process. Sit for meditation and let go of everything. If you say, "I'm not holding on to anything anyway," first acknowledge that you are holding on to the thing that bothers you. The thing that bothers you is there because you are holding on to it. If you weren't holding on to it, you wouldn't be aware of its existence. So let go of everything. If a solution idea about the issue you're facing comes to your mind while sitting, let that go too. Let go of everything and just sit and wait. After a while, you will begin to be alone with the feeling of discomfort you identified as guilt. When you reach this stage, you can now meditate on guilt. Scan your entire being like a scanner and locate the place of the discomfort feeling. Find where in your body you feel a sense of discomfort physically. You may think that when you find this feeling of discomfort, your aversion to this feeling, in short, the thing that unsettles you at that moment, may not have any connection with the feeling of guilt. However, the source of the feeling you likely define as guilt is probably found in this area of your body. Thoughts and emotions are reflections. You are being compressed and disturbed by the presence of an energy waiting to be released. Instead of looking at the reflection, you need to look at the source of the problem, which is this compressed energy. How can you look at the compressed energy? You can do this by making it the object of your meditation. You can only do this by simply being with it, without trying to change, eliminate, or open it. You can achieve this by continuing to feel that area constantly. For example, let's say the compressed area is just above your left shoulder. What you need to do is focus all your awareness on this area above your left shoulder. Let me explain what I mean by awareness. Your awareness is your sense of feeling in this practice. Try to feel this area, let it show itself to you. As you spend time with it, although it may initially act like a shy child, it will eventually start to open up to you and tell its own story. The story it will likely tell may trigger the moment of your guilt feeling. What you need to pay attention to here is not to listen to the story it tells you and get lost in it. What we are trying to do here is to allow it to tell its story. Just like when a child tells its daily adventures. The goal here is to allow it to speak, express itself, and make sure it knows that you are listening and caring. You cannot get angry at a character in a story told by a 5-year-old child. Similarly, you should not do this during your meditation practice. Trying to release the energy trapped in your left shoulder is the main objective, not getting lost in it. When I say listen to it, I'm not saying get carried away by thoughts in your mind. Don't spend the process getting lost in abstract thoughts, continue to physically feel this area. After a while, when it finishes telling its story, it will dissipate. This may not happen in one go. Continue the process, try again on other days. Another aspect of our topic was to examine how guilt prevents you from experiencing your authentic self. Guilt, as we mentioned earlier, hinders the emergence of our authentic self. This is because a person experiencing guilt often has an impulse to control their own behavior. The impulse to control oneself manifests both inwardly and outwardly, such as through self-criticism and judgment. Therefore, the source of guilt needs to be identified, and the trapped energy in that source must be released. Another outcome of guilt is addictions. Unhealthy and harmful habits prevent a person from being at peace, and an unsettled person cannot be in the flow. To be able to manifest the authentic self in our daily lives and experience life from the perspective of the authentic self, it is important to be at peace. To be at peace, one needs to be physically and mentally healthy. Only then can a person live in the natural flow of life. The authentic self is the ability to be oneself without being influenced by any external factors, without thinking or worrying. It is not living life according to the decisions and limitations of life. It is important to mention that someone struggling with the feeling of guilt or unknowingly living under the influence of guilt energy is limiting themselves. In guilt, there is a fear of making mistakes. A person afraid of making mistakes cannot live life with their authentic self. A person with their authentic self can make mistakes, but these mistakes are not coded and perceived as mistakes by them. In their perspective, the concept of a mistake either does not exist or is evaluated within a different framework. For example, they may see their mistakes as an opportunity for learning. On the other hand, the feeling of guilt acts as a barrier for a person continuing to live with guilt energy. For them, mistakes cannot go beyond being a tool to blame themselves or others. Before concluding our video, it is important to emphasize the significance of working with guilt energy. Working on guilt can be challenging and exhausting, but you should know that your perspective on life will completely and fundamentally change at the end of the process. Throughout this process, patience and determination are necessary. However, it is crucial to remember that when your patience and determination run out, the solution is not to search for a mistake and blame yourself again. You cannot heal the self you are trying to rescue by beating or harming it. When your strength is depleted in your efforts, do not force yourself and let go of the process. After a while, the practice you have applied will embrace you again, and you will be able to continue the journey with the same enthusiasm. Please be gentle with yourself. The goal here is not to fight the feeling of guilt. The goal is to release the energy of guilt. You can achieve this by releasing the self that holds on to guilt. Take care.